So the age-appropriate assessment is written, and depending on who your chair is, it's either uploaded or it is sent to that chair for review. And you've listed the age-appropriate assessment in evaluations. Now it's time to write the present level of performance section for transition. So a lot of you have seen either in the guidance document or right through the insert text box that we have a template statement that is available for you to use. I'm going to use that statement to talk about the parts of the present levels that need to be there. Again, it's not mandatory to use the statement, but there's so many different ways that it can be written. I'm just going to talk about the different parts. Either you use the statement and fill it in, or you address every single part of the statement. Either one is compliant. All right, let's begin. So overall, we're making sure that we are writing a summary of the transition information from our age appropriate. The first thing that must happen is we must reference the assessment that we used. That is why you'll notice here in red, we start our template statement with according to the age appropriate transition assessment. Per regulations, it is literally written that we must use some sort of assessment tool to gather information about the student. So we show that we did that both in the evaluations and by referencing what we used in our sentence in the PLEP. And we also make it very clear, and we put it in its own section, the career vocational transition section. We then must talk about the student's strengths, preferences, interests, and needs. And that's more that middle part of our template. If that's the meat of the statement, we are talking about the student's career and preferences. We're talking about any transition needs, strengths, and interests. And we're making sure that we're using the same language and the same voice that was in the age appropriate. We are looking at alignment and we're looking at moving towards a student-led IEP, and that's what that last part of our template is. If you're part of the state plan, this is not optional for you because moving towards that, we are indicating that in the IEPs. We're also making sure that it's aligned. So making sure that we are identifying that activity in the present levels is one additional way of making sure that it is being addressed in the conversations when we're talking with the student, so the student knows that these are activities that are helping them move towards their goals. So ways to be non-compliant when writing the PLEP statement. If you don't reference that age appropriate, if you just start right off with what the student wants to be and you don't tell the reader where the information came from, that is non-compliant. If there is information on the present levels that the reader cannot find in the age appropriate, it is out of alignment, it is non-compliant. Here's one example. If the PLEP statement says interested in becoming a welder after high school, but on the age appropriate the student wrote or the teacher wrote for the student, I want to work in construction. That is non-compliant. In the present levels, it is stated that the student wants on-the-job training, but it says trade school in the age appropriate, non-compliant. Now that activity listed in the last sentence is not in the coordinated set. That is also considered non-compliant. I'm going to show you an example of where you need to get that last sentence from in just a second. But if we're going back to the template sentence, it needs to come from the coordinated set. So let me show you what that means. Right here, I have a present level statement. I filled it all in, and I'm right here. A coordinated set transition activity that directly aligns to Test 1's measurable post-secondary goals is. So I'm here. Sometimes you might have to wait and do this part last until you have gotten all the way through, but you want to go down to the coordinated set. These are the different activities that were written up for this student. I can decide, most of them will probably align. So this was a student who wanted to be a mechanic. So I think the activity that aligns is that they're going to discuss strengths and needs regarding future employment. So I'm going to highlight it. I'm hitting Control C, save and return. I'm going to go back up to my PLEP statement. I'm going to open it up so I can edit it. I'm going to highlight the whole line to get rid of that. I'm going to hit Control V. And now I've finished it with an activity. If you are pulling from anywhere else in the IEP, you're pulling from the transition needs and the measurable post-secondary goals. That is not the right place. You are out of alignment. If you're pulling from a different section of the PLEP, no. And you'll notice I didn't adjust the wording at all. I just cut and paste that from the coordinated set. So we want a coordinated set activity. That is now compliant. So if I grabbed it from anywhere else, if I grabbed it from here and I wrote, we'll develop appropriate work skills, social skills, and behaviors, that's not a coordinated set activity. You are now out of alignment. So just be careful with that one section that you're grabbing it from the right place. I hope that clears things up and helps you write your present levels.